Now, I'm going to transition, going to segue into my spring football top 25 teams in the sport. I say top 25. So the top 25 is at foxsports.com, where you can see 11 through 25. Here, we're only going to go through the top 10. Off the rip, I'm just going to tell you that Oklahoma ain't in it. Okay? I'm being the analyst that I am at Fox Sports, taking my fandom out of it. It's not a top 10 program right now. However, shout out to Baker Mayfield, the 6-0 Savage, who is going to get his Heisman Park statue dedicated April 23rd at the spring game in Oklahoma. And that 6-0 Savage is only for the OGs. If you don't understand, then you don't understand. You probably don't understand. I'm not on a step mill. That I can't help you there. Now, number one on this list, drum roll, please. Alabama. You know, with the Forrest Gump, I think she should go back to Greenbow, Alabama. I got to work on my country because my country comes out when I'm actually talking to other country people, but apparently I just can't do it on command. It actually has to be somebody that I'm enunciating with. Look, the additions of former Georgia wide receiver Jermaine Burton, LSU cornerback Elias Ricks, Georgia Tech running back Jahmyr Gibbs highlight the 2022, not just transfer class, but recruiting class for the Crimson Tide. I thought it was interesting that Burton chose to leave the reigning national champions to join the Alabama Crimson Tide. Now, Nick Saban was asked to talk about this, why he thought Burton might have done this, but he made it pretty plain, like, we're not very good at wide receiver right now because they lose Jamison Williams. They lose John Mechie III. They lost Slade Bolden, which I think is unexpected because of the way that Nick Saban chose to speak about it. So the quote is this on the Burton transfer. He had a fairly productive year at Georgia. They had a lot of good players at his position. You know, he had some production this year, but might have seen a better opportunity because we're a little bit more wide open and throw the ball more with a good quarterback. That may have been his intention, but we feel like we lost both starting receivers and Slade, using Slade by name, to the draft and Slade. So to get more experienced players that has some playing time in this league probably is a good thing for us. Also, I'm just going to low key get to Saban on the 2 to the draft and Slade. Feels like shade. Feels like shade for Fezco. You Euphoria fans, you understand that's Fezco. That's Slade. Lineup clean. I give him that. He rolling with the bros to the barbershop. You don't get no fade like that at Supercuts. That's just not how that get down. All right. Also, when I said Slade Bolden is the SEC's Julian Edelman, y'all try to come get me. And then you got Slade Bolden out here saying I'm Julian Edelman. You telling on yourself. Okay? Don't put that evil on me. Don't you put that evil on me. Number 2 on this list, Texas A&M. The Aggies move up to number 2 in the spring ranking on the strength of their record-setting 2022 recruiting class haul. Even more impressive is Jimbo Fisher's A&M put together a class made almost exclusively from the high school ranks in an era when many recruiting classes are 50% or more transfers, right? You also made some moving and shaking along with guys like 5-star defensive lineman Shamar Stewart. You get Ole Miss defense coordinator DJ Durkin to replace Mike Elko, who is the new head coach at Duke. You also added Max Johnson, who is going to compete with Connor Weigman and, of course, Haynes King for the starting quarterback job. A&M is looking for its best season since sliced bread. You get it? Since sliced bread. I'm going to use that joke forever. That's forever one of the great press conferences because Jimbo Fisher came out with what I have. He came out with a rundown. He came out with segments that he needed to do because he had something for Bro Bible. He had something for sliced bread. He had something for the AD at Notre Dame. Like, my man was doing 3 hours of Sirius XM radio right there in front of us. I loved it. It was great. Number 3 on this list, Ohio State. It's impossible to ignore the talent, the returning for the Buckeyes. The way I couch this is the Buckeyes didn't even have that many dudes that elected to go into the NFL draft, which means everybody's returning. Yes, they lose Chris Olave. Yes, they lose Gary Wilson, But maybe you just didn't remember that Jackson Smith and Jigba set the all-time bowl record for receiving yards in a game. Maybe you don't remember that Marvin Harrison tied the Rose Bowl record for receiving touchdowns in a game. Maybe you don't remember that Julian Fleming and Emeka Egbuka, the number one wide receiver in 2020 and 2021, might be the third and fourth best dudes on that depth chart. Maybe you don't remember that the dude I told y'all was elite, that is electric, let me do this another way, that can cut a promo anytime he wants, and Travion Henderson is 7.5 yards deep, all right? I mean, Travion Henderson basically took the Big Ten and treated it like it was Brock Lesnar. Went up to the Big Ten and said, you see this ring? This is my ring. You see that cameraman? That's my cameraman. You see this belt? That's my belt. Man, Roman is having a time. Like, Roman is proof that if you keep doing your job long enough, people will respect you. You know what I mean? You know how much y'all didn't like Roman Reigns. I mean, I'm not gonna be shy about it. Like, I kept going, let that man walk around with his shirt off. Hey, have you seen this man? You saw in the Fast and the Furious. Let Roman be Roman. Let that Georgia Tech defensive end stand out. Saying Travion Henderson was that dude. And then you got CJ Stroud back there, right? Who I would have put on the cover of Madden. Even if y'all wanted to put Bryce Young there, I wouldn't. Fine. I'm good with that. It's like choosing Johnny Manziel or Robert Griffin III for, NCAA 13. I'm fine with it. All right. Other thing is the defense is going to be elite. Jack Sawyer returns. Zach Harrison returns. JT Tuimoloau returns. Denzel Burke returns. Jim Knowles basically is being told, hey, the defense held us back last year. Your job is to make sure that doesn't happen, because if it doesn't, they could be in the college football playoff once again. Number 4 on this list, Georgia. Yes, I put the reigning national champions at number 4. They're barely getting the college football playoff. Sue me. All right. You're losing Jermaine Burton to Alabama. That stings, but you bring in the number 3 ranked class in the 2022 cycle. That's got to be a warm salve. You know how much I love this dude, Malachi Starks, who I expect to have an opportunity to play at safety. They return Christopher Smith, the peacemaker, at safety. See? Man, y'all, I know y'all rock with this show. You got to rock with this show. I just dropped a peacemaker reference for Georgia football. Come on, man. Clap. Please clap. No, I'm joking. Don't clap. It's a podcast. I can't hear you anyway. You also got, perhaps the unsung hero of all in Stetson Bennett, who I expect to have his own statue in Athens. Georgia's going to be good. Georgia's always going to be good. I'm really interested to see how Dan Lanning, survives that game against Georgia as the head coach of Oregon. I'm like, yo, I'm not going to hold it against you if y'all get beat down. It is what it is. You in year 1, and Kirby's had that thing humming along for 6 years now. Number 5 on this list, Baylor, who is having one hell of a athletic department just moment. Women's basketball, men's basketball, football. They've got it all going. Dave Aranda returns both of his coordinators, one in Jeff Grimes, another in Ron Roberts. One of the real cool aspects of this is that Dave Aranda used to work for Ron Roberts, right? And really learned how to do that simulated pressure thing that they do, that Georgia also used to win national championships. They're all back. You added Tulsa nose tackle Jackson Player as a transfer, who was a former all-conference American performer, because if I say all-American, you're going to be like, he wasn't all-American. I'd be like, well, he was all-American conference. You get what I'm saying there? So I have to be careful about how I say that. But they lost Jalen Petrie and Terrell Bernard. Jalen Petrie, I thought, was the best defender. Well, he was the best defender, Big 12 player of the year, defense player of the year. But I thought he should have been the player of the year for the conference. He was outstanding. It's about whether or not you're going to let Blake Shappen be the starting quarterback or Jerry Bohannon be the starting quarterback for me, right? Because the offense looked really great when Shappen got his start, 82% completion, Big 12 championship game. They won it over Oklahoma State, who fell just inches short of winning a conference championship. And then you need to find who is going to replace Abram Smith, who, as I mentioned earlier in the show, rushed for 1,600 yards. Number 6 on the list, Arkansas. All right? Quarterback KJ Jefferson has an argument to be the second best quarterback, right, in the SEC, let alone the SEC West. Really Bryce Young's, right, because he's that reigning Heisman Trophy winner. You can't take that away from him. With Trey Knox edging toward first-round selection among wide receivers, because it feels like the wide receiver class just gets deeper every single year that we have the NFL draft. He added Oklahoma transfer Jaden Hazelwood, who somehow thinks that Oklahoma fans are mad at him. Nah, man. Mike Woods came over from Arkansas. Arkansas fans didn't feel some kind of way about it. Like, it's fine. Like, go be great, Jaden. Don't worry about what people are telling you. Take that Malik Willis air. Go ball out. That offense is great. And Kendall Browse knows how to run it. And I expect you to be awesome in it. And then you got Drew Sanders, who's going to join an outstanding 4-2-5 defense run by Barry Odom. Drew Sanders is elite. Like, to keep him off the field, you had to be Dallas Turner. Like, it was like that. He's elite. I can't wait to watch him play at Arkansas. It's also a Razorback team that was 9-4 last year. 2 of their 4 losses were to the 2 teams that played for the national championship. The other one that I thought was close, 52-51 to Ole Miss, right? Who played in the Sugar Bowl. The argument against Arkansas being at 6 has everything to do with Alabama and A&M and nothing to do with anything else. The SEC is just loaded, and Arkansas is still trying to find a way to be on that same tier as an Alabama or an LSU when they're good, or an Auburn when Gus Malzahn apparently was a part of the program, because that seems like a dumpster fire right now. And of course, Georgia, right? But it's not the last SEC team you're going to see here for obvious reasons. I'm past however many teams have to be in a league for me to be like, okay, how deep does it get? Because the SEC continues to just destroy everybody. And Arkansas had the misfortune of playing the 2 teams to play for the national championship last year in the same year. Number 7 on this list, Notre Dame. The Fighting Irish will have a new starter at quarterback. Jack Cohen trying to edge into the first round of the draft. We'll see how that goes. Tyler Buckner, Drew Pine, both of those guys are great. Offensive coordinator Tommy Rees, he's got an outstanding eye for quarterbacks, as you very well know. Former Notre Dame quarterback himself, who was not too shabby. It's about finding somebody to pair in the receiver ranks with Michael Mayer, okay? Or Michael Mayer, I should say. I think of him as Michael Mayer because, that man is Halloween. He's a scary sort of tight end. And then who's your new bell cow back? Is it Chris Tyree? Like, I think it might be. It might be, right? I think Tyree is pretty good. He's got legit 4.3 speed, but Kyron Williams meant a lot to that offense, and they were able to build around it. Defensively, they lose Kyle Hamilton to the draft, who didn't run as fast as I wanted him to after being, heralded as one of the best athletes to ever come through Notre Dame ever, and that's saying a lot. But you replace him with Northwestern All-American Brandon Joseph, who transfers, of course, from Northwestern to Notre Dame. I expect him to play some safety for Marcus Freeman on defense. It's going to be pretty fun over there, and I really love that staff. And, it's kind of awkward for me because I'm used to just absolutely dunking on Notre Dame, being like, get out of here, Notre Dame. Now they hire Marcus Freeman, who, wears his hair a lot like mine. I'm with that. I just am. Like, I was with it when Ty was there, and now I'm with it again. You know what I mean? Like, it's fun. When you had Carlisle Halliday and Arnaz battle, I was here for it. And I'm going to be here for it once again. Number 8 on this list, Utah. Perhaps the most underrated coach and program in the country is Kyle Whittingham and the Utah Utes. The defending Pac-12 champs return starting quarterback Cam Rising. They add Stanford linebacker Gabe Reed, who could replace Devin Lloyd or Nephi Sewell. In Morgan Scalley's defense, I expect them to be pretty doggone stout. Every year, nobody's looking at Utah. Every year, they seem to come out just a little off center, and they finish strong. They beat the hell out of Oregon in the Pac-12 championship. They gave Ohio State a run for their money. For me, they are the best team in the Pac-12 today. I have more to say about that in the top 25. And as far as you'll see, maybe one other Pac-12 program. And perhaps Kyle Whittingham has something to prove. I can beat up on Lincoln Riley, and I can beat up on him a lot. And as Monique would say, I would like to see it. Not that I want to see Lincoln Riley do bad. I want to see Utah play USC. Don't get it twisted. Do not do that to me, because that's not what I'm doing. Number 9, Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin lost both of his coordinators and his starting quarterback, multiple running backs to the draft and or the portal. He responded with one of the most impressive hauls of the cycle. USC quarterback Jackson Dart, former National Gatorade Player of the Year, transfers to Ole Miss. Texas Christian running back Zach Evans, who I genuinely believe is one of the best tailbacks in the sport today. He's at Ole Miss. And of course, USC tight end Michael Trigg followed Jackson Dart over to Ole Miss. The SEC West is just loaded. Like, we're talking about LSU being right above a Mississippi State. That's what it is. I mean, you can go Alabama, or I should say LSU being above a Mississippi State, who is above an Auburn. Like, I think Auburn's probably bringing up the rear this year if the offseason is any indication, where they're flirting with trying to fire their head coach and basically didn't have the money to do it. But the SEC West has been loaded for the last 15 years, quite honestly. It's not looking like it's letting up anytime soon. It's got one of my favorite coaches in it, in Sam Pittman, and I'm a Nick Saban file. Like I know a lot about that dude. And as far as you can know a lot about from him, from what's written, I'm excited to see what that looks like. And then finally at number 10, Michigan State. Mel Tucker followed up, losing arguably the best running back in the Big Ten, arguably, because I still think Travion Henderson was a better tailback. And of course, you might have somebody wanting to argue with me about Hassan Haskins, but Kenneth Walker III was certainly that dude, even if, he didn't do much because he was hurt against Ohio State. Wisconsin also added running back Michigan State added Wisconsin running back Jalen Berger and Colorado running back Jarek Broussard. That's going to help you tremendously. It's about if defensive coordinator Scotty Hazelton can get that secondary under control, because if they look anything like respectable, they could challenge once again for the Big Ten East title and perhaps do what Michigan did, which is keep Ohio State off the podium. For the 11 through 25, once again, I will refer you to foxsports.com, where I have my spring top 25, and I'm sure it's going to be all over the socials, and you'll let me know what you think on the Twitters and the Facebooks and the Instagrams, as it were. Ease up on the "you suck, RJ," because, I'm not exactly Malik Willis about it. It does affect me. Thanks for watching this video, and remember, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any other videos on the #1 ranked show YouTube channel.